That is really smart. What also makes this movie really, really good is the story. The story in this movie is fantastic. And it's not just fantastic, it's powerful in my opinion. Yes, it's powerful. How many times do you say an action movie has a powerful plot? How many times do you say that? Almost never. That doesn't happen. But in this movie, it really does. This movie is really about Bourne's redemption. It's about, all the things that he did, all the people he killed, and just how he can find a way to cope with that, how to kind of get redemption for what he did, how to deal with Marie's death. There's this great scene where Bourne basically chooses not to kill Abbott. Abbott's saying that, he killed Marie, that's his fault, and that, no matter what he does, he's always going to be a killer, and that's just who he is, no matter what. And Bourne just chooses not to kill him, and that's just a really powerful scene. But that's not even the best one. Later on, and this is at the end of the movie, is that there's this scene. This is probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie, is when Bourne sits down and talks to this girl, and they both have this connection, because they both lost someone, they both have this picture, they both know how it feels. And he just sits down and says to her,
I killed him. I'm sorry.
How hard would that be to do that? Just sit down and just tell someone, hey, I killed your parents. I'm sorry about it. I killed them. I'm surprised that girl didn't start screaming and attack him and throw him out of the chair and start, attacking him. Because then you know how hard it would be to do something like that. I could only imagine. That's just... And just moments like that are just so thought-provoking, they're so powerful, and they really make you think. But it's really what it's about. It's his redemption. He can't, he has to be able to live himself for what he did. And even that isn't enough. In Bourne Ultimatum, he starts talking about how he can't really forgive himself. He's done so many things, but he still just can't, he can't just get over it.
I've tried to apologize for what I've done. For what I am. None of it makes it any better.
Now, I do agree that the plot in this movie is tremendous, but I think there is one thing that would have given it that final push, and that's the fact that when in a great car chase, one of the best in cinema, between Bourne and Krill, when the car crashes, I honestly think Krill should have been alive. He should have walked over to him, he should have put a gun to his head, and he looks into the guy who basically killed Marie, and, choose not to shoot him. That would have been the final push, and that would have been really good. And I know that they had that with Abbott, and that kind of makes up for it. It chose not to kill Abbott. But at the same time, Abbott's not the person who actually shot Marie through the head. That was Krill who did that, and I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity, but it isn't a big deal. It's a bit of a nitpick for me, but just seeing this movie so many times, it's just something I kind of wish they had done. The soundtrack in this movie. The soundtrack is tremendous. It's probably some of the best soundtrack in movie history, in my opinion. It's really, really good. It gets us feeling for him. After Marie died, he's looking at those pictures, he's burning them, and he chooses not to burn that one picture. The soundtrack there really gets us. It has suspenseful during the Berlin foot chase scene. Very, very suspenseful music. It's great soundtrack. Now this movie it does have some problems. It's not 100% perfect. One of the problems that this movie has to do, it has script problems. It has some problems with the script. For one, it doesn't make sense why Abbott and all the people who are involved with the scandal, stealing all that money, have to frame Bourne. Why do they have to frame Bourne? Who the hell would frame Bourne? This guy will come for you, you know. He has so many skills. Why Bourne? For the movie, it makes sense, but it's a huge just script problem. It doesn't make sense. They could have framed someone else that wasn't going to come back to get them so hard. And that, I mean, you could just dismiss that by saying, hey, the characters are stupid, but they're not stupid. If you think about the characters, I mean, that's, again, and that's another thing that's actually really great about this movie is Abbott's side story in this movie. You can really see how desperate he is. He's really, really desperate in this movie, and you can just see that through Brian Cox's brilliant performance.
What if somebody were trying to cover their tracks by blaming Conklin and Bourne? What if Bourne didn't have anything to do with this? Show me again. All right. Why do you put a full game?
He's just trying to get out of this. He's scared. He stole a bunch of money. The guy who can prove that he did it is alive.
Listen, Yuri, you bought those oil leases with $20 million and stolen CIA seed money. You owe me. I gave you your cut.
We both got rich. I don't owe you anything.
The plan can still be salvaged. Just get Bourne. Do you hear me? He's still out there. Now get him. Get Jason.
Now another problem or nitpick or script problem would be that the girl thought she knew. You know how they both have the picture and Bourne's like, does that picture mean a lot to you? She's like, no, it's just a picture. He's like, no, that's because you really don't know how they died. It's like, well, think about that for a moment. She thinks she knows how they died, right? So that doesn't really make sense. It's kind of another script problem, and that's a big part of the plot of the movie. Again, someone could bring faith or religion into it and say, well, it's not the truth. It's not really the actual truth. You could bring that into it, but it is a script inconsistency. Another one would be Bourne gets all this random stuff. And this is another script inconsistency. Where does he get all this stuff from? He's randomly just pulling things out of his pockets and stuff. Like he tracks some phone, and he doesn't track it, but he's able to listen to it. He puts it in these earphones. He takes out a sniper rifle in one scene. It's where does he get this stuff from?
Danny.
It's like, what in the world? It's like, does he have Q from James Bond just going in and giving him all this stuff?
There's no place for you, Q. Go home.
Oh, don't be an idiot, 007. I know exactly what you're up to, and quite frankly, you're going to need my help. Remember, if it hadn't been for Q Branch, you'd have been dead long ago.
It's like, where does he get this stuff from? It doesn't make any sense. And see, as far as all the random stuff he gets, in Identity, you could say, he has all this random stuff too, but it's explained there. He kills the assassin, he takes the stuff, and it's explained, all that stuff that the assassin had in that bag. And this is just so random. It doesn't make sense. But see, those are just some very small script inconsistencies. That's not a big deal. And just this movie is so good. In so many other ways that completely overpowers the bad. The little bad there is. And yes, I have to say this movie does have a lot more problems than Identity, but in my opinion, Supremacy has so many better things than Identity as well. In the end, Supremacy, I think, is the best one. Now, Bourne Ultimatum is basically the third and final Bourne movie of the trilogy. Now, Paul Greengrass also directs this one. You know how I was saying that shaky cam 90% of the time it worked? Well, in this one, 100% of the time it works. I can't think of one incident where the quick cuts and shaky cam doesn't work. Just again, the camera follows everything it needs to, and there's a perfect amount of wide shots that make the quick cuts work. the film also has a great plot. Not quite as good as Supremacy, but it's a great conclusion to the trilogy, and it's about what it should be about. Bourne's origins, you know, how he started as a killer. And one of the best things about it is how we learn that he chose to join the program. He chose that. That was his choice.
I was killing for you. For them.
He knew exactly what it meant for you if he chose to stay.
When we have finished with you, you will no longer be David Webb.
I'll be whoever you need me to be, sir.
You cannot run what you did, Jason. You made yourself into who you are. Eventually, you're gonna have to face the fact you chose right here to become Jason Bourne.
And also the quote that I was talking about, the look at us, look what they make you give.
Why didn't you take the shot?
Do you even know why you're supposed to kill me? Look at us. Look at what they make you give.
That also comes back at the end of this film, and it really ties in nicely. It feels like, again, that quote is so good, and they couldn't have just used it once. It's so great to hear Bourne say that in his probably most vulnerable state in the trilogy. I mean, that scene is fantastic. You know, I was talking about vulnerability. He's super vulnerable, and you can see that in this scene, how he's just trying to basically run and escape, you know, after he learns everything. The movie has probably one of the best antagonists in the trilogy, I'd say, because Noah Vosen is just this guy who won't stop. He's convinced that Bourne is a threat, and he will not stop. He will not stop until he is dead. And he is ruthless too. He's ordering people to be killed all the time. He's saying, "Oh, kill Nicky, you know, kill Neil Daniels, kill all these people," and he won't stop for a moment to think about it.
She has betrayed us.
You don't know the circumstances, Noah.
She's in league with Jason Bourne, for Christ's sake.
You do not have the authority to kill her.
Oh, yes, I do. And you had better get on board.
In a way, he's really actually abusing the powers that he has. The fact that he has this program where he can basically kill anyone without waiting for orders, you know, he can take care of it. It sets up this great conflict between him and Pamela Landy.
You better get yourself a good lawyer.
It really does, because Pamela Landy, you know, she doesn't like what's going on. She's basically the only thing that's really holding Noah Vosen back this whole time. And that's just, it's a great conclusion for her character as well. Because they could have just, what they could have done is just dropped her out. Dropped her out after Supremacy, but that just wouldn't have, it would have ruined it. So it's really great to see her back and to see her arc of her character complete.
Why'd you do it?
Because this isn't what I signed up for. What they did to you, Blackbriar. This isn't us.
Then do something about it. Everything you need is in there.
One great thing about the Bourne movie, especially in Ultimatum, is that not just Noah Vosen, but there's the actual assassins, and one of them is Desh in the Bourne Ultimatum. And see, Desh, you know, he isn't, and this is what I like about these movies, is that there's this line blurred between good and bad. Is this good or is this bad? And Desh is like right in the middle, because Desh, he isn't a bad guy. He's doing his job, and his job is to kill Bourne. And so he really is just this person who's just been basically completely brainwashed by the government. His face is like this the whole time. Except in the fight, of course, he's getting beat up, and it just shows that how the government is really just using these people. Just the questions these movies bring up, and it's one of the truly great things, you know, is that it's not like in some old James Bond movie where Blofeld's gonna destroy the world or blow it up. You know, the lines are blurred here. You really don't know, you know, who's good or bad. You mean someone could go say Bourne's bad. He, in a car chase, he stole a guy's taxi, he crashed into a whole bunch of cars, probably killed a few people while he was at it. On top of that, he was an assassin who killed a whole bunch of people earlier. Is Bourne a great person? He's killed, like, a lot of people. You know, according to the new trailer of Jason Bourne, apparently he killed, what, 32 people?
32 kills. People are safer because of what you did.
And that probably is not counting the people he indirectly killed. Now, a lot of soundtrack in this movie, is reused from 1 and 2. And that's not a problem. The soundtrack from the first 2 were great. But it does bother me how they didn't compose more new stuff. Because the new stuff in there is very, very good. Very good. But they did definitely reuse, like half of the stuff in the soundtrack in Ultimatum was just reused. And they kind of change it up a little bit, but it's still very similar. Not a big problem. I just hope they don't do too much of that with the new movie Jason Bourne. If they do it a little bit, I wouldn't mind that. Especially if they use like the Berlin Foot Chase or even the Bourne theme. I wouldn't mind that. Especially Moby, that would be good too. Now, there's just one of my favorite scenes from this movie is a scene between Nikki and Bourne. We can just really feel that there was something there. It's a scene where Nikki's cutting her hair and she's putting it, you know, she's basically dyeing her hair. And it's just it's reminiscent of Bourne Identity, that first scene. It also shows how, you know, how loyal you could say Bourne was to Marie, and how after she died, he's not gonna want to be with anyone again. Bourne is just still stuck on Marie, and you can even, there's even a scene earlier on where he's actually looking, or he actually flashes back, so you can just see that that's still a big part within him.
What?
And in a way, that really changed his character. You know, because if you look at Identity, Bourne actually, he smiled a lot in that movie. He was actually, at a lot of points in that movie, he was actually, he looked happy, and you can just see that's gone. That's gone. In Supremacy Ultimatum, he constantly looks exhausted, you know, like he's suffering, you know, and you can just, and that's, really feel bad for the guy. If I had any complaints with this movie, it'd be that it's a little too similar to Supremacy, and that makes the film feel a bit repetitive. And one thing I want to point out, and that I think is pretty funny, is every time how Bourne says to someone, you know, this is real. Every time that he says that to someone, they get shot in the head through a sniper rifle, every time.
But Jason, let's stay for a while. It could be anybody.
This is real. Listen, this isn't some story in a newspaper. This is real.
I just think that's kind of funny. So, I mean, if in the new Jason Bourne movie, Bourne tells somebody, this is real, just know they're going to get shot in the head through a sniper rifle. Overall, this is probably one of my favorite action trilogies ever made. It definitely gets a solid 9 out of 10. I've watched these movies way too many times. I've probably seen them 10 times a piece. So I'm really, really hoping the new Jason Bourne movie will be good. So far, it looks amazing, I have to say. All the action sequences look really good. Also, is that I just hope the plot can just be as good as the first three, because these movies have always been really, really smart. And I just hope that it can hold up. I just hope it doesn't become noisy, where a lot of stuff is happening on screen, but at the same time, not much is happening at all. It just, as far as plot goes, it's just, I want to have, you know, a smart plot, and I really feel like there's plenty there to tell a good story. I mean, you'd think that Bourne, after remembering everything, he'd be pretty pissed, right?
I volunteered because of a lie.
He remembers everything. He remembers killing all those people. And I heard, and I watched one TV spot that gave a little more on it, but I haven't watched any more than that, because I've heard there's some really spoilerific TV spots, and they give away way too much. So I've stayed away from that. I want to be surprised. But I did watch one, and it hinted about something about Jason Bourne's father, which that seems really intriguing.
He said my father was killed by terrorists. He wasn't killed by terrorists, was he?
There's some lie the government told as well. And that sounds great. I mean, if that's the road they go down, maybe Bourne's trying to basically do justice after he knows all the things that happened to him, or something like that. That would be great. But whatever it does end up being, I mean, I'm pretty sure it will be great. I've watched the official trailer way too many times, I have to say that. And I mean, if I could, I'd like to see it. I'll probably try to see it, like, right when it comes up, maybe even Thursday night, because I know a lot of theaters, they show it at like 7 or 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, but at the same time, that's probably expensive, so I'll just kind of have to see. Now, you know, but I'll probably do some reviews for that, too. And it's really exciting to know that there's another Bourne movie coming out that I haven't seen, that I don't know anything about. I've overwatched these movies. Probably just by watching this review, you can tell that I've overwatched these movies. I'm talking about these little things that probably people have seen this movie once or twice, don't care about. I just want to, you know, say thank you for watching. Yeah, thank you for watching. Who's now? Who is this?
This is Jason Bourne.
Okay, and who are you with? I mean, what do you need?
You didn't actually think I was coming to Tudor City, did you?
What?
Where are you now?
What do you mean, where am I now? I'm just sitting in my office.
I doubt that.
Why?
If you were in your office right now, we'd be having this conversation face to face.
There's nobody in my office, man. It's just...
You move, you die.